The English historian Lord Acton once stated, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." After viewing this video, you will understand why this is so true. Throughout history, power-mad kings and queens have made terrible mistakes at the cost of countless human lives. However, some were so sadistic they totally stand out from your average egotistic ruler. Over the next few minutes, we will talk about the 8 most sadistic, bloodthirsty and perverted rulers that existed before dawn of the modern era. King Leopold II of Belgium. King Leopold II of Belgium is infamous for his brutal exploitation of the Congo Free State from 1885 to 1908. His regime enforced harsh labor policies to extract rubber, leading to widespread atrocities. To enforce quotas, the Force Publique, his private army, used extreme violence, including whipping, mutilation, and amputation of hands. Villages were often razed, and hostages taken to ensure compliance. The brutal conditions, combined with disease and famine, caused the deaths of millions. Leopold's actions left a legacy of devastation and human suffering, making him one of history's most reviled figures. King Vlad III of Wallachia, also known as Vlad the Impaler. Vlad III was notorious for his cruelty and sadistic methods of torture, including impaling his enemies on wooden stakes. He is said to have killed tens of thousands of people during his reign and is infamous for his brutal and sadistic methods of punishment. His most notorious act was impalement, where victims were skewered on long stakes and left to die slowly. He also ordered people to be skinned, boiled, decapitated, blinded, strangled, hanged, burned, roasted, hacked, nailed, buried alive, or stabbed. Vlad was known to cut off the noses, ears, genitals, or tongues of his victims. One particularly gruesome event was the sacking of Brasov, where he impaled men, women, and children and dined among their bodies. His reign was marked by extreme cruelty, earning him a fearsome reputation that inspired the legend of Dracula. Roman Emperor Caligula ruled from AD 37 and 41. Caligula is infamous for his extreme cruelty and sadistic behavior. He forced parents to watch their sons' executions and had prisoners sawed in half. Caligula also exiled, tortured, or executed perceived enemies, including senators and his own family members. He engaged in numerous acts of sexual violence, including raping both men and women. His reign was marked by extreme cruelty and sadistic behavior, and he is reported to have forced himself on individuals regardless of their gender. He declared himself a god and demanded that his subjects worship him. His reign was marked by unpredictable violence and bizarre acts, such as ordering the construction of a floating bridge across the Bay of Bauli so he could ride his horse over it. Caligula's actions earned him a reputation as one of the most infamous and despised rulers in Roman history. Roman Emperor Nero ruled from AD 54 to 68. Nero, the Roman emperor, is infamous for his ruthless and tyrannical rule. Despite being a competent administrator with capable advisors like the writer Seneca, Nero's reign was marked by a series of brutal murders. He began by killing his step-brother Britannicus, who was supposed to share power with him, and later had his wife Octavia executed on false charges of adultery to be with his lover, Poppaea. Under Poppaea's influence, Nero also orchestrated the murder of his own mother, Agrippina. Ultimately, in a fit of rage one day, he kicked Poppaea to death while she was pregnant. Nero's reign was marked by brutal persecution of Christians, whom he blamed for the Great Fire of Rome. He reportedly had Christians thrown to dogs, nailed to crosses, and even burned alive to illuminate his garden parties. His reign was characterized by paranoia and numerous executions of perceived enemies. Nero's actions have left a lasting legacy of terror and brutality in Roman history. Ivan the Terrible, first Tsar of Russia, ruled from AD 1547 to 1584. His reign was marked by a series of brutal acts aimed at consolidating his power. Ivan established the Oprichnina, a secret police force that terrorized the nobility and common people alike, killing thousands through torture and public executions. He would brutally boil enemies alive, impale people on sharp stakes, roast people over an open fire and have victims torn apart by horses. In a fit of rage, Ivan even murdered his own son by smashing his son on the head with his scepter. His reign left a lasting impact on Russia, characterized by extreme cruelty, fear and oppression. Jang Xien founded the brief Shi dynasty and ruled from AD 1644 to 1647. You have probably never heard of this rebel leader during twilight years of the Ming dynasty. He is infamous in Chinese history for his extreme brutality and ruthlessness. His rule is notorious for the massacres of hundreds of thousands of people that depopulated the Sichuan region. Jang delighted in various methods of torture and execution, including dismemberment and decapitation and placing them into piles, as a form of terrorizing and controlling the local population. Jang's reign of terror ended when the invading Manchus killed him. However, his reign left a lasting scar on the region, making him one of the most feared figures in Chinese history. Emperor Liu Xie of Liu Song ruled from AD 464 to 466. Liu Xie was the eldest son of Liu Jun, Emperor Xiaowu of Liu Song during the southern and northern dynasties. AD 420,589. Took over the throne as Emperor Qianfei in 464 when he was 15 years old. When Liu was crowned prince, Emperor Xiaowu disliked him and considered replacing him with his younger brother, Liu Ziluan. After ascending to the throne, Liu, filled with resentment, had Liu Ziluan and two of his other siblings killed. He also purged officials favored by his father and placed his uncles under house arrest, subjecting them to cruel treatment out of fear they might revolt. He murdered many senior officials in violent ways. The highest-ranking official, Liu Yigang, who happened to be the Liu Zai's grand-uncle, was killed in the most violent way. The emperor personally led the imperial guards to attack and kill Liu Yigang and his 4 sons. He then cut off Liu Yigang's limbs, cut his abdomen open, and pulled out the entrails to be cut to pieces. He also gouged out Liu Yigang's eyes and put them in honey, calling them pickled ghost eyes. Liu was so deranged and perverted that he forced his aunt to satisfy his sexual desires, and when her husband protested, Liu had him killed. Even more despicable, Liu ordered the consorts and princesses to have group sex publicly with his attendants in the palace and even forced the concubines to have sexual intercourse with animals. Those that dared to disobey were killed on sight. His crazy reign ended when he was assassinated by his uncle Liu Yu. Liu Zai went down in history as one of the most notorious and depraved Chinese emperors ever. King Joe of Shang ruled from 1075 to 1045 BC. King Joe of Shang, also known as Di Xin, is often regarded as one of the most tyrannical rulers in Chinese history. His reign is marked by extreme debauchery and cruelty. According to historical accounts, he indulged in excessive drinking, hosted lavish and immoral parties, and imposed heavy taxes on his people to fund his extravagant projects, such as the Deer Tower Palace. To please his consort, Daji, he is said to have built a lake of wine and hosted extravagant orgies where men and women were forced to engage in degrading acts around it. His cruelty extended to torturing and executing those who opposed him, and he reportedly strung human flesh in the forests as a display of his power. He was known for his brutal executions, including dismemberment and other forms of extreme punishment, including the cannon-burning punishment, where victims were tied to a heated bronze pillar. His actions led to widespread resentment and ultimately contributed to the downfall of the Shang dynasty when he was overthrown by King Wu of Zhou. So who do you think should go down as the most evil, sadistic and crazy ruler before the modern era? If you have suggestions, or think we should expand this list to include other crazy, bloodthirsty rulers, please provide your feedback in the comments section below. If you liked this video, please leave a comment or give a thumbs up and remember to hit subscribe.